Hi everyone, I'm Mike DeNovo, the Social Studies Department Chair. We have a special lesson for you today, one that asks you to think about a law in the present, that is, Erin's Law. I think U.S. history class is an appropriate place for you to learn about such a law. After all, in U.S. history, you've studied the interactions of individuals, social movements, and laws throughout the American story. Erin's Law, like other laws that you have studied, was not conjured out of thin air. Rather, it is a governmental way to address a social need. Today, we are going to learn about and critically analyze Erin's Law, and we're going to think about the role individuals play in social movements and in laws. First, we'll learn about Erin's Law, and then we'll participate in an exploratory of events that relate to these issues in the Learning Commons. As stated just a few moments ago, laws are a way to address a social need, and they're often the effect of individuals and groups working to address a societal need. Laws are a way to achieve justice, like in the civil rights movement that you've recently studied. Just think about that for a moment. Laws like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These were landmark policies that on a governmental level addressed the race-based discrimination that was a barrier to justice for so many. And when I think about the civil rights movement, I often think of the line Martin Luther King Jr. made famous, which is, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but bends towards justice." I find it enormously inspirational, yet it is risky. It implies that justice is destiny. The fact of the matter is, it isn't. If you listen to the speech where the line came from, you'll hear how Martin Luther King stated it. You'll hear how individuals have to work for change. You may remember that Elizabeth Eckford had to choose to be part of that group to desegregate Little Rock High School. In the photo on the right, another high school student, Walter Lee Folks, had to choose to protest, to face down policemen and dogs. Of course, Martin Luther King pulled the arc of the moral universe. Here's his mugshot from his arrest in Birmingham, Alabama. These individuals and countless others pulled the arc of the moral universe toward a more just America. And the actions of those individuals spurred on other movements. While Hispanic Americans and women had movements already in progress, the successes of the civil rights movement supported Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers, and Betty Friedan and Pauli Murray and others who founded the National Organization for Women. More individuals pulling on the arc of moral justice. And we are experiencing yet another ripple today. The Me Too movement began in 2006 as a way to help survivors of sexual abuse, but really gained momentum through the use of Twitter in 2017. Similarly, Erin Marin, whose Erin's Law is named for, began to push for a way to end the silence surrounding sexual abuse as a high school senior in 2004. The law was first passed in 2011. There you have it. Laws, individuals, and social movements. Individuals have to act. Constant actions make movements. They pull the arc of the moral universe.
Hello, I am Lauren DeAngelis, the PE Department Chair. To build on what Mr. DeNovo communicated Erin's Law is about, empowering society to stop the silence. We each need to have a voice. I like sharing this quote by Victor Pacini: "Having a voice in who you are, the confidence to speak up, and the awareness to recognize a potentially dangerous situation." So what is the purpose of Erin's Law? I wanted to share a few reminders on what the law is and why we need to talk about it. Child abuse is a huge social issue that is about power and boundaries. We want to empower students to talk about the sensitive issue and assist in identifying avenues for communicating sexual abuse if it is happening to them or someone they know. Erin's Law wants to ensure students understand what type of information should be communicated and help students understand safe versus unsafe secrets. Remember, your body belongs to you. One scary part of abuse or assault is the person who is abusing an individual is most likely doing it to someone else. This is why, as a society, we must talk about the issue, educate society on the issue, And as a society, we cannot be afraid to talk about uncomfortable situations. The more we address child abuse, the easier it will be to stop the silence. I wanted to share a few statistics. Think about the Chicago Bears Soldier Stadium, how large the venue is. And actually, this is one of the smaller NFL stadiums. After thinking about this, no, there are 42 million sexual abuse survivors in America. 3 million of these survivors are children, which fill up 46 NFL stadiums. Some other concerning statistics to think about are only 1 in 10 sexually abused children tell someone. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are sexually assaulted before age 18. Over 90% of these children are abused by someone they already know and trust. 20,000 images of child porn are posted on the internet every week. Before we move on, I would like to remind you what the definition of sexual abuse is. Sexual abuse refers to any action that pressures someone to do something sexually they don't want to do. It can also refer to behavior that impacts a person's ability to control their sexual activity or the circumstances in which sexual activity occurs. Just a few more reminders. Some think that if the victim didn't resist, that it doesn't count as abuse. That is not true. It is important to know that just because the victim didn't say no, doesn't mean they meant yes. Whether they were intoxicated, felt pressured, intimidated, obligated, or bullied to act a certain way, sexual abuse is never the victim's fault. What does sexual assault or abuse look like? Some specific examples are the following. Pressuring or forcing someone into engaging in unwanted sexual activity, which includes kissing, touching, or penetration, vaginally, orally, digitally, or masturbation. Sexual touching of any body part, clothed or unclothed, engaging in sexual activity in front of an individual, forcing individuals to watch, view pornography, or using someone to create pornography, abuse via the internet or other technology avenues, refusing to use condoms or restricting someone's access to birth control, sexual contact with someone who is very drunk, drugged, unconscious, or otherwise unable to give clear consent, using sexual insults towards someone, and remember, sexual abuse can be physical, social, emotional, or include neglect. The one thing I wanted to go over is what a respectful and healthy relationship can look like. If society can understand this topic, people will be more understanding of what child abuse or abusive relationships may look like. Remember, everyone has the right to decide what they do or don't want to do. Remember, your body belongs to you. Sexual abuse can occur between two people who have been sexual with each other before, including people who are married or dating. Remember, some components of a healthy, respectful relationship include trust, honesty, mutual respect, compromise, individuality, self-confidence, and effective communication. Each partner in a relationship respects the other personal decisions and should never force any part of the physical side of a relationship. The next topic I would like to remind you of is what consent is. Consent is a voluntary, positive agreement between the participants to engage in specific sexual activity. No means no. It is freely given. Consent cannot be given under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Being in a dating relationship or marriage does not give you automatic consent. Every time, every act needs consent, and a person has the right to stop things at any time and for any reason. And lastly, one of the most important aspects of Erin's Law and any type of abuse is knowing where to turn to get help and support. These days, most everyone has some type of smartphone. A few apps that are safety apps include Circle of 6. This app, you choose 6 close friends and they will know where you are and how they can help. Gotta Go is an app which is a free excuse to leave generator. And the last app I'd like to mention is Rave Guardian. a safety app to protect yourself and others with a variety of features. Other resources that you can use and reach out include groups such as YWCA, which is a 24/7 hotline, loveisrespect.org, which is a blog for teens, RAIN, which is a 24/7 hotline also, and the last resource is to turn to a trusted adult, a parent, a teacher, a coach, a social worker, and/or counselor. Let's stop the silence and be empowered to stand up for one another. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. DeAngelis, for explaining all of Erin's Law. Next up, we'll be going to the Learning Commons, and we will be working through several exhibits. Consider the following critical thinking questions when going through each exhibit. How do you think this story came to light? What may have prevented the victim from sharing their stories? Why do you think the victims ultimately decided to share their stories? Next, we'll go to the Learning Commons, and when you arrive, you'll see several stations. You'll work your way through all of the stations, thinking through the aforementioned critical thinking questions. Record your answers on the organizer you've been given, and feel free to talk to the people around you. When you finish the questions for an exhibit, you may move to the next one. Finally, remember that you have a support network at York. Counselors, social workers, administrators, teachers, and coaches all care about you and about your personal development. Thank you so much for your attention, and we hope you enjoy the exploratory.